Hello, home team Lighthouse. I'm Kyle Black with your Week 7 update for VAM Empire. It's a big week for the inventory system and items and things like that, and a few other updates. So let's jump into it. To start, in the art department, we had just two small updates. Cornell brought us two new RCS thruster effects, as you can see here. A flame-based effect and a sort of gas-based effect that we'll be able to use. Didn't have a chance to wire these up, but do have a little demonstration of what they look like right there for you. And Fahad has dropped a new image out there. It looks like it's an incoming bomb of some sort. Looks like it might be a bat wing or something like that. But so far we just have the graphics, so excited to see where that's going to go. But that's all for the art update this week. In code, we had a good bit more. Brian fixed up a bug where you could just delete any save file and it wouldn't prompt you. So if you bumped the button, your save file was gone. So good to get that fixed early. It now prompts you and you have to say yes that you do want to delete your file. So that's good. Tyler caught a bug while I was making a lot of changes to the save file. The up conversion was not working. Tyler caught that and he got the up conversion working for anyone that has older save files. Of course, it's not a lot in those save files just yet anyhow, but it's good to be maintaining that sort of up conversion methodology we have so that it's working going forward. So I had a lot of different things, and I'm not going to go deep into these. I want to spend more time in the demo talking about all this, so I won't spend a lot of time here. But everything boiled down to simplifying the inventory and getting that logic snapped together. I did bring the hard points in and ended up breaking them to make things work in the inventory in general, and then taking the work I did on the inventory and creating a mission complete screen, which we'll go over in the demo as well. And I've also spent a little time outlining the mission system, which will play into why I wanted to get all this inventory stuff done in the first place. In the audio department, we got a metal on rock collision sound, which I'll play for you right after this, and a rock on rock collision, which I'll also play. And I personally produced a chip tone sound for the item tallying. But right now we'll play these two new sounds from Andrew before we jump into the demo. Here we are in game. One thing I didn't call out in the slides is I've also applied the theming a little more into other elements of the UI, like tabs and tab panels now have the theming. So that looks a little more at least unified, even if it doesn't look the way we want it to look in the end. It's the unified theme, so we'll be able to change all of these elements in one place using the theme, as opposed to having to come in and touch every one of these tabs and set all the properties one by one. Saves us time in that sense. So for Brian's change, you can see I have a save file here, and if I went to delete it, it's going to now say, "Are you sure?" And it says, gives me the option for yes, and it does stay at that yes at the current moment, so I'd have to completely exit and then come back in to the game here, and then it'll be my save will still be there. So another nice feature to add would be the option to say no and then have it come back to the current state that it's in right now. So we'll go into the world right here and we'll show off some of the new inventory functionality that came along this week. So I've got a few items already saved into to make this easier for the video here. I've already got some items in here, and you can see I can move them. And as items get added to the inventory, it searches from the first slot in, and if it finds a match, well, if it finds a free slot first, it just immediately puts any new item added. So it will not seek deeper in to see that something's already in the inventory yet. We may want to add that functionality. So as I add an item, you'll see it's adding singular amounts of this item, even though it could, for efficiency, stack like this. But for right now, it just adds at the front of the inventory if there are free slots, and then it begins to stack. You can see the items are now starting to create stacks again. I have increased the size of the stacks up to 999, I think, for right now, so that we can have nice big stacks of these items to further test the scaling of the inventory system. I'd like to really be able to pick up a lot of this stuff in the game, just to both make it more satisfying from a play perspective. You know, having hundreds of minerals pour into your inventory is always more exciting than just one or two. So that's the direction I'm taking for right now. We'll see once we actually start getting things to drop where we'll go with that. I ended up having to break the hard points that I added this week. I broke them again in order to get this to work the way I wanted, and I will revisit, or someone else could revisit these hard points at a later date to make them work with the cargo inventory. But I figured for building missions and things like that, the most important part was to make things that just the basic cargo pieces work. So that's the inventory. And to tie into the inventory, then we have a new button in the debug panel. Need to make it so that it doesn't fire when you're clicking these buttons in the debug panel. But we have a new end mission button, and pressing this will bring us to the end mission. But I'll actually, for the demo's purpose, I'll show off going to the actual return home. We'll get the countdown here, and we'll close out a mission and see what happens when the player returns home and they have things in their inventory now. We get this nice end screen, and it counts up the items. And when the items are done counting, this return button starts a countdown for 15 seconds. And, say you have a bunch of, we're going to add more stuff to this. Say this, you don't want it to count down all the way. All you have to do is mouse over that button, and it will stop counting down. So then the player could, take a screenshot. We might want to put a call out here like, hover over button to avoid going back to home. I might do something like that. But for right now, I was happy with just getting this all working. And when you hit return to home base, it of course brings you back into your home base. And we don't have any way of seeing our master inventory back in the home base just yet, but it absolutely is there. And I'll demo that real quick by just adding a few more items. And then instead of waiting the full time, now I'm going to use my debug menu and trigger the end. And there you go. Countdown. You can see all the things that are sitting in my master inventory still. And we're back in home base again. So that's the inventory as it sits right now. And that's going to be able to play into the missions and everything else that I have going. And if you're interested in how the missions look, you can head out to the README. And you'll be able to go over the mission system as I've outlined it so far. This is all completely open to being changed. I just wanted to have something on paper to follow. And I sketched out how the JSON may look to match this mission system. But essentially they're just objects that may, contain the things to be completed by the player, whether it's collect a certain number of items or make a certain number of kills or whatever. We'll have a description that the player can see, and then the rewards they'll get, and then we can even have notes for ourselves that will not even make it into the game. They will just be useful for us to read, to see what we had in mind when we were developing these missions internally. So we can leave, the point of this mission is to create progression to the next part of the game, that kind of thing, where we might not want the player to see our sort of design notes, but I did want to put that field in there. But you can certainly come out here, and there's a link to the actual JSON file on Git right there, and you can see how it all works. But as for right now, we'll jump over to the Trello and check things out and then wrap it up. So we're looking good here. Got some things that can move over into the done column. We know Andrew knocked out the metal on rock sounds. We got energy weapon sounds. I haven't moved that one to complete because I didn't know if he was doing more or not. That's fine. You can move that to complete if you are complete. I'm going to call the inventory system where it is right now as done, even though there's lots more to do, and I will open those up as new cards as we go and we decide we need more things. But I'm going to close that one for myself and start focusing on some things like the dynamic music, which I'm going to move next week. The enemy AI needs some more work, so I'm going to keep carrying that one. I know that that's still being done, so I'm just going to keep moving these things over, but we'll move that as well and keep moving. I know the character panel is in flight, talking to Tyler, and I'm going to move some of these things out into the future so we're not just stacking them all in 1 week. This one I'm going to try and get to this week so that we can actually get some asteroid collectibles going. The RCS thruster, we know that we have the art side of that, and this is one I'll probably end up tackling, the fleshing out the music, at least so that if there's an enemy around. But still looking good. Got plenty of room in these weeks forward, so these tasks we're kind of carrying along, we can kind of keep pushing them down the road. And feel free to add things out in the future that you'd like to see done, like to see added, just as always. But feeling good, looking good, and see you out there in the Discord, and look forward to working with you going forward. Thank you.